This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this date. And on this day, March the 23rd in the year 1957, one of the craziest NCAA tournament championship games had happened. It's the 19th version of the national championship, the true national championship game. It started in 1939, and this is 1957. This would be the 19th time. Kansas City would host it at the Municipal Auditorium. It would be between the ACC champion North Carolina Tar Heels and the Big 7 champion, of the division, now known as Big 12, Kansas. So, North Carolina was known for their tenacity and all that. Frank McGuire was a pretty good coach for the Tar Heels, and his offensive philosophy centered on passing before shooting. His starting lineup actually consisted primarily of players from the state of New York because of McGuire's connections to the area. Anyway, North Carolina started out quite well and all that. North Carolina got lucky against Wake Forest in the semifinals of the ACC tournament. In an era where only one team per conference could make it to the big dance. North Carolina was down by 1 to Wake Forest, but thanks to a bucket by Lenny Rosenbluth and a free throw, North Carolina won. They beat South Carolina, who were the ACC for a while, to earn a trip to the NCAA tournament. They would face the Bulldogs, beating them 90-74, face Kansas out of the Niagara Falls region, making a 12-point win, making them face off against Syracuse at the Palestra in Philadelphia. North Carolina beat Syracuse by 9 to make it to the Final Four. They would face Michigan State. It was a tight game between those two schools and all that. Unfortunately, though, Michigan State actually had a half-court shot made by a Jack Quiggle. Unfortunately, that bucket was nullified because it left its hands after time expired. Michigan State had a 2-point lead with 11 seconds left. But unfortunately, they missed both free throws, and North Carolina dribbled down the court and made a bucket as the buzzer sounded to go to second overtime. North Carolina would win 74-70 in a tight one. Kansas, on the other hand, had Dick Harp become the new head coach of the Jayhawks. They were favored to win the national title because Will Chamberlain, the dominant 7-1 center, was going to be playing varsity. Now, he was a freshman, but under the rules at the time, freshmen were not allowed to play for the varsity squad, so thus he would play varsity for the first year. Anyway, Chamberlain would join 4 seniors as part of the starting lineup and all that. The Jayhawks lost a couple of games. But thankfully, though, they did do quite well in the tournament. They lost to Iowa State and Oklahoma State. Those were the only 2 losses. Anyway, in the first round, they took on SMU. Went to overtime, but won 73-65 thanks to 36 points from Will Chamberlain. Then they would face Oklahoma City to reach the Final Four, 81-61. So Chamberlain had a 30-point, 15-rebound appearance. Kansas would face the 2-time defending NCAA champion San Francisco. And it was daunting. It was like San Francisco was going for its unprecedented 3rd national title in a row, which I don't think any school had ever done. But Kansas crushed the hopes of a three-peat by San Francisco, winning 80-56 to face North Carolina, who were the #1 team in the nation. Kansas was entered as a 3-point favorite, mostly because of playing in Kansas City. So the key players for North Carolina were Lenny Rosenbluth, Pete Brennan, and Tommy Kearns versus Kansas's Mo King, Will Chamberlain, and Lou Johnson. So anyway, there would be some stations that would actually broadcast the national title game, which usually doesn't really happen. 11 TV studios were there. So anyway, the first half, Chamberlain would tip off against North Carolina by Currents. Anyway, they used a zone defense. Carolina scored first. So the first half happened. North Carolina was up 29-22 at the half. So that meant that the undefeated Tar Heels looked pretty impressive and all that. There was acrobatics and all that. With 1:45 left, Kansas had a player fouled by Rosenbluth. Rosenbluth, that would be foul number 5, meaning he was out of the game. Elston missed the 2 free throws and Carolina got the rebound. Somehow, in some way, the Jayhawks could only score 2 points in that second half after Rosenbluth was out. A key free throw happened for Carolina, and they had a chance to do it. As Cunningham went up for a guy named Cunningham went up for a basket, he was hit hard by heavy contact from Chamberlain. They didn't call a foul. The shot missed, and we went to overtime. The jump ball was won by Kansas and Chamberlain. And they put it through. Kansas tied the game at 48. North Carolina would proceed to hold the ball for one final shot. Of course, this was the era in which there was no shot clock, so you can hold it as long as you possibly can. So they did, but Chamberlain blocked Kearns' shot and went to second overtime. Anyway, there would be a huge thing and all that. Kansas came down the court to pass the ball to Chamberlain, who was fouled by Cunningham. There was an altercation in which Chamberlain was hit in the stomach with a megaphone, and his knees being scarred by a Carolina cheerleader. Chamberlain had a chance to make some free throws, but he missed both shots, and Carolina got the rebound. At 48-48, Kansas had the last shot. Lunsky had a chance to win the game. They failed, so they had to go to triple overtime. Kearns would make a layup to make it 50-48. But Kearns would hit both free throws. Chamberlain made a shot, was fouled, and then made the ensuing free throw for the three-point play, and Jayhawks were down by 1. Kansas then got a decent shot and got free throw line to tie the game at 52. Kansas stole the ball and crossed half court when Coach Harp called a timeout. Chamberlain went up for a shot in the post. However, the referee did not call a foul, and the ball went out of bounds off Carolina. The Tar Heels fouled Elston, and he can only make 1 free throw. Unfortunately, a shooting foul happened on Joe Quigg, and he went to the line for 2 shots with 6 seconds left for North Carolina, made both, giving him a 54-53 lead. Kansas called a timeout and would inbound to Lunsky, who passed it to Chamberlain, who was under the basket. Unfortunately, the ball pass was underthrown. Didn't go to Chamberlain, and it was tipped away by North Carolina. And that was it. Time had expired, and the Tar Heels win 54-53 in triple overtime to get themselves the NCAA championship. What a game it was. Of course, overtime, only 15 points were scored in the 3 overtimes, but that was because they just wanted to keep the ball for themselves with no shot clock. Lenny Rosenbluth put up 20 points for the Tar Heels to lead the team. Unfortunately, though, he was disqualified after his 5th personal foul. Fortunately, no one else was fouled out. Bob Cunningham did foul 4 times without scoring a bucket. Also playing in the game were Pete Brandon, Tommy Kearns, Danny Lotz, Joe Quigg, and Bob Young. Kansas had Bob Billings, Will Chamberlain, Gene Elston, Lou Johnston, Mo King, Ron Lunsky, and John Parker play for them. Chamberlain would lead the team with 23 points. Chamberlain was named the most outstanding player, or MVP if you will, of the NCAA tournament, despite the fact that his team lost the championship game. Of course, North Carolina's coach Frank McGuire was named head coach of the year because, after all, they went 32-0. Coach McGuire and Lenny Rosenbluth would fly to New York to appear on the Ed Sullivan Show. The rest of the Tar Heels returned to North Carolina 2 days later, and 10,000 fans greeted the North Carolina squad. It was amazing what they could have done and all that. A lot of people said the size of the crowd at the airport was credited to the broadcast of the national semi and championship game around the state of North Carolina. It was huge and all that. Lots of people rushed the street after the title game. The bad news for Kansas and Wilt Chamberlain, for that matter, was he was criticized for his inability to help Kansas win the national championship game. And Chamberlain said it was very painful. He went back to Kansas to play his junior year under Harp. However, the opposing team's way of playing him was huge. They would double or triple team him with effectiveness. And then teams would resort to running out the clock when they had the lead over the Jayhawks to win the game. After Kansas failed to make the NCAA tournament, Chamberlain decided to bypass his senior season and go play with the Harlem Globetrotters. He actually did not set foot on any Kansas campuses for 40 years until 1998, before he died and his jersey was retired. The North Carolina players were awarded watches for winning the title and all that. But in the 90s, those who were still around were actually given championship rings at the insistence of Dean Smith. McGuire would actually sign a 5-year deal to stay with the Tar Heels. After the success of the Final Four games in North Carolina, they actually said ACC basketball could be popular as any TV show in North Carolina. And it was a TV contract in which, they would broadcast ACC games league-wide, and it increased the conference's visibility and all of that. And with that being on TV, then children would pick up a basketball. So in the end, it actually worked out for the state of North Carolina getting basketball even more popular than it is today. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.